have a hearing entitled Poison Patriots.
You ready? You ready?
I was ready for this 10 years ago. I joined the Marine Corps in 1970, right out of high school.
I lived that life, breathed it. I loved it. I trained over 2,000 new recruits on the drill field. I came back from Okinawa with my family. And we applied for base housing. It's a typical military base. Jacksonville, North Carolina. We stayed at Camp Lejeune until December of 1975, and that was when Janie was conceived. In July of 1983, Janie got leukemia. After the shock of her diagnosis wore off, my reaction was to question it, why? And that nagging question of why stayed with me through her illness, through her death, and for 14 and a half years. It's something that doesn't just go away. It never does. In '97, I found out about the water contamination. I was fixing a plate of food in the kitchen, getting ready for the evening news. The reporter said,
"The contaminants found in the water at Lejeune have been linked in scientific literature to birth defects and childhood cancers."
my first thought was this what happened to Janie? I dropped my plate right there. I mean, it was like God was saying to me, here is a glimmer of hope that you will find your answer.
Come on, come on. I knew my son for 6 weeks. Christopher was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Ann and I don't think we'd ever discussed it again. I mean, what the hell was there to discuss? In about 1998, I read that they were looking for persons that lived at Camp Lejeune, and they talked about the exposure to chemicals. Hold still. Turn around. Oh, stop it. I had lots of things going on, but I said, this is what I want to do. I want to find out what the hell happened. Jerry was onto it probably three to 4 years before I even knew about it. I don't think there's anything significant in a lot of this stuff. It's
So
just,
where's these documents?
well, we'll see what we got. I think it's old stuff that I need to put away. Some extra junk.
You need to put a
Mark
post-it note on there. Tom and I worked for 6 years without ever even knowing what the truth was until the Marine Corps posted a bunch of documents by mistake. Tom called me and told me that they had posted this website on the internet. And I said, no kidding.
As soon as I found that, I said, oh my God, this is the Holy Grail, kid.
I was on a dial-up computer, and I stayed up for weeks on end, all night, going through this website.
I started reading these things, and all these questions came to mind.
They didn't vet it very well because, let's just put it this way, it was only up for like a month and a half to 2 months, and it was taken down. But luckily, we captured the entire thing before they did. I couldn't believe what I was reading.
These people knew this crap, and they covered it up.
When I first found this out, I had all the faith and confidence in the world that the United States Marine Corps would do what was right by their people. As time went on, I made more and more contacts with the Marine Corps. You name it, they committed it. Stonewall, incorrect information. I started to slowly realize that these people were not going to do what was right by their people. They were going to have to be forced to do it. And that burden fell on me. One question always came into my mind, why? And I couldn't find any other child in her mother's family history or mine that had ever had leukemia.
In April of last year, I was diagnosed with male breast cancer and underwent surgery in May. When I saw that interview, life as I know it changed. I called that day. I said, I know you can't give it to me, but can you please pass my information to Jerry Ensminger and have him call me? Because I really want to talk to him. Your ears burning?
The reason I was calling was anything that you find.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I need to be underlined and fucking put in bold dark letters.
By the way, the kids are in the rooms to watch the WTFs.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Here you go, my dear.
Brooke, you need to hurry up, because I got to swing by the bank now.
I mean, who we were beforehand was just, the Partain family. Just your average American, 39-year-old father of four. I mean, I was active in Boy Scouts, I went camping with my kids, doing what most Americans do.
Okay? I got to get to work here, so.
That has all changed over the past year. I never thought in my wildest dreams that, I would be able to know where my cancer came from and, to be able to make a difference.
The health and welfare of our Marines, sailors, their families, and our civilian workers are a top priority for the Marine Corps. We will continue to cooperate in an effort to get answers for those of our Marine Corps family who may have been exposed to volatile organic compounds in drinking water at Camp Lejeune in the past.
Well, officially, I've been told nothing. I've read things, and I've heard things. It just, it opens a lot of questions.
How long did you live on the base?
I was conceived on the base, and then born on the base, and my exposure ended at the age of 4 months.
Do you know if you were nursed or if you were fed
Both.
formula? So your diet every day as a baby was full of contaminated water. And I'm sure your mom bathed you often in nice, warm water. The warmer the water, the more it's going to outgas the TCE from the water. The water itself is going to send the TCE into your skin. Babies' bottoms are all full of fat. Well, it will go right into the fat and get into your bloodstream.
You know, when I first heard about this, I started chemotherapy, and I told my oncologist in Tallahassee. And he said, oh, there's no way, that's too long. I mean, you're 39 years old, that occurred 40 years ago.
For most cancers in adults, we think the latency period is from between 10 to 50 years. Now, for children, their cancers can develop with much shorter latencies because, of course, the cells of a child are growing very fast. So we think childhood leukemia often comes about from exposures that take place in the womb. That's why people at Camp Lejeune have a right to know that they were exposed, and therefore they should be vigilant about these things. Because as you know in your own case, the earlier you can find cancer, the better the chances that you're going to be able to do well with it.
In 6 months, I've located 10 families, including myself, in Tallahassee, that all lived at Lejeune, and they're all sick. And not only that, one family, the father died of male breast cancer. There's another gentleman, he was diagnosed with male breast cancer. And me, what are the odds in that? I wonder, when we start to look out in the country, how many other cancers we're going to find.
I couldn't even read it for about 3 days. The doctor gave it to me and I stuffed it in my purse. Patient is a 43-year-old female. She should follow up with hematology oncology within 1 week to 10 days. It's aggressive. Man, this stuff happens fast. She's not shy. My dad was a Marine, and I was told that the Marines were the most elite and the best and the toughest and, you know, nothing less for me. And I was told that I would gain a lot of self-confidence. To a certain point, I have. To a certain point, it's the Marine Corps' fault that Jerry and Tom and I and the rest of us veterans are fighting so hard. They trained us to be this way.
One, two, three.
Come here, you.
I decided that being angry with those idiots isn't going to help anything. Getting into a facility that knows what they're doing is going to help. And believing in miracles. Lots of people are given really bad prognosis and told they're going to die, and then that there's no chance. I just can't believe that, Rachel. I can't believe it. I refuse to believe that there is no chance.
State Farm, this is Mike. For the past 10 years, I've been a claims adjuster for State Farm Insurance. And having the ability to go through and do an investigation, getting the facts together and learning to do that process and creating that skill set is invaluable because, I mean, we have it at first of the Camp Lejeune, the Marine Corps says this is what happened. And then we find out that that's not the truth.
Compliance is a #1 priority for us. We're talking about the health and welfare of our Marines and their families. The chemicals were first discovered in the early 1980s. It was not until late 1984 and early 1985 that it was discovered that it was actually in the wells. The base was trying to determine the source, and as soon as they discovered, hey, the source of the chemicals was the well, that well was shut down.
Born and died. Born and died. There's a bunch of them born right after me.
Here's what we need to get. These stones that tell the parents, it was a sergeant or staff sergeant, they were military. There's a whole bunch of them spread out through here that got the rank of the father.
Here's a first lieutenant. They lost 2 kids, look at that. 64 and 68.
Get you in there and catalog all those, and then put the dates in sequence and see just how quick these kids were dying and were they on the base.
Mm-hmm. If we can find their parents. When I first started looking into this as someone who knew nothing about Camp Lejeune, the first thing I wanted to know was what happened. I told Jerry, I said, look, you know, do we have a timeline? Because when you have the big picture in front of you, things start to jump out. Inconsistencies in stories, misrepresentations, they start to jump out at you and they create the beginning point for you to start asking questions. Once you know what happened, then you can take that to the media and Congress so they can understand it like we do. Otherwise, they're going to rely on the Marine Corps. In the course of putting together the timeline, one of the glaring problems with what the Marine Corps was saying was Granger Labs. As I started reading what happened, I could hear in my mind, I could hear the technicians talking. You know, why aren't you doing something about it? Why are you still using this water? I want to talk to these people. To me, they're witnesses because they saw a problem. I went looking, we found my target, Granger Labs.
We had recognized some contaminants that we didn't expect to see. I went on base and we went to talk with some personnel in Public Works.
Now, was this a civilian or
No,
was
this was a uniformed personnel, uniformed officer.
Do you recall his rank?
He was a major. It was a very brief meeting. In the meeting, we presented the fact that we'd found some contaminants, and it was, you know, we were almost summarily dismissed that, okay, yeah, we'll take care of it.
Hold it. Yeah. Let's back up a minute. You specifically told them you had found contaminants.
Yes.
Did you identify the contaminants to them?
I don't believe we even got around to saying what the contaminants were.
Well,
yeah, is that right?
We didn't get that far in the conversation. It was, you know, water's water. We just have to make sure we have plenty of it out there. And these government regulations were a burden that was unwelcome.
The fact that he went down there and alerted these people of what was in their water.
How dangerous it was.
And he might as well have been talking to a fence post.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for them to say,
oh, we didn't know what this was.
We didn't know what this was. We didn't know it was harmful. Well, there goes their story.
Yep. I want to find out what really was going on behind the scenes.
Politics, convenience, deniability.
Mm-hmm.
I got 30 years over there. I've seen a lot of it.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that they were going to keep this contamination under wraps, and they thought that no one would have ever found out about the contaminated water. Okay?
Yeah.
For all their problems.
I don't doubt it.
What went wrong with their plan to keep it quiet?
There was just too much of it. It got out of hand. You can only keep a secret for so long. The more people you involve in the secret, the more likely the secret's going to get out.
The Marine Corps did not want an investigation. They did not want a health study. So how do you prevent that? You hide and conceal the truth.
You know, there's a lot of people out there suffering because of what was done to them here through this negligence that need health care. All these military people who didn't stay in and retire, who did 1 or 2 enlistments and got out, they're at the mercy of the public health system. We need to bring this issue up publicly.
That's for you?
Oh, yeah.
I inserted the senator's name.
But this issue as a whole, as far as public health. Senator Burr, you remember me?
I do.
If any situation warrants a hearing by our Senate Armed Services Committee, it's this one.
Jerry he's the front end of this team. He's the one that gets out of his farmer suit in North Carolina and puts on his coat and tie and goes to D.C. I have some peculiar ideas about traveling. So I'm in Idaho living in my cave and providing the information. You know, I just want to see the Marine Corps accept the fact that they did something to us.
I have a hard time that the Marine Corps has allowed me and thousands and hundreds of others to get devastating illnesses and die and just turn their back. That is the hardest thing for me to accept.
We testify first, but the order of which we are going to go in, I don't know.
What are the key messages that...
Notification of everybody that was exposed at Camp Lejeune. Studies for the populations that haven't been looked at. And health care. Now, for the people that are hurting. I am appearing here today as one spokesperson for the hundreds of thousands of Marines, sailors, their families, and loyal civilian employees who were unknowingly exposed to horrendous levels of toxins
through their drinking water at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Dr. Sinks, if you had been on these bases and known about the contamination, would you have felt comfortable drinking that water?
I think that I personally would have been using different water.
I'm told that officials waited years before they identified the contaminated wells and then closed them down in 1985. Who was in charge then at Camp Lejeune?
All of the officials, sorry, sir, all of the officials at Camp Lejeune would have been in charge, just like they are today.
Your people were exposed to it, and you didn't do anything.
I wouldn't say that the Marine Corps at Camp Lejeune didn't do anything at that time. As soon as they found that they were contaminated, they shut them down.
General Dickerson, why has DOD not notified those residents at Camp Lejeune that they may have been exposed to TCE or PCE? Don't you think you have responsibility to let these people know they may have been exposed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then why don't you do it?
That would be a very difficult and laborious task. We could try, but I could never commit to finding 100% of people who may have been exposed. That would be very difficult.
You can't tell me Marine Corps doesn't know who was at Camp Lejeune from 65 to 2007. I just can't believe you can't do that. That's inconceivable to me.
These people are sick and dying and fighting for benefits and help. Seems like we would be doing everything possible to contact every person who is on these bases. And I may be not hearing you correctly, but I get the sense that we're not making that effort.
Our most precious resource is our Marines and families, and we're going to do everything possible to take care of them.
The Marine Corps was Johnny on the spot with a 3-page rebuttal of why they should not have to do notification. I mean, Semper Fi, you know?
When we got the hearings, I was really expecting those to be the catalyst for more investigations and then ultimately get to the, get to the truth. Well, I was wrong.
People think, oh my God, a congressional hearing, boy, that's really something. They held the hearing, they got great accolades for it, and then they dropped the ball. Unfortunately, I cannot get the senator to do a thing. He would not even, they would not even take my phone calls. You know, the main thing is don't let this issue die.
I don't know how many of you know my history, but I was a career Marine. I did 24 and a half years in the Marine Corps. I never dreamed that I would be doing what I'm doing today. You know, when I first started this in 1997, I was by myself. The Marine Corps has refused to notify their people, and I told them that if they didn't want to live up to their motto, I would. All of you can help by taking the time to write a letter to your elected official.
I've been wanting to meet you since I read your article in the Jacksonville Daily News.
What about New River Air Station?
I was there from 63 to 67.
They were studying something that he got into at Camp Lejeune.
This is my grandson. Semper Fi. You don't quit, you just keep going. Now go kick some damn doors down tomorrow.
1 year ago today, a 39-year-old Tallahassee resident was diagnosed with male breast cancer. Now, Mike Partain is on the hunt for the truth, and he is joined by...
There's a part of me that says, you know, shh, be quiet, sit down. You know, just tell, the people you need to tell locally, and let's just, let's not make a big scene. But...
I'm totally opposite of that. Because one of the things that I've understood, our biggest weakness is the fact that we're not concentrated at Camp Lejeune. This isn't like Love Canal, where you can go drive down the street and see little Susie's house there, and that's where she died, and little Johnny over there, he got cancer, and you can't do that at Camp Lejeune. The people that were there, they're only there for a couple of years and they're gone. But as word of this gets out, that weakness becomes our strength, because we're in every town across America. We're in every town, every city, and every state. And every one of us has a congressman and a senator.
First, I want to thank you all for your interest. We certainly value the need, the hunger, the desire for information from those of you who have been here at Camp Lejeune.
My name is Jerry W. Townsend. I arrived at Camp Lejeune in 1955.
I joined the United States Marine Corps and came to Camp Lejeune in 1981.
I worked over at Camp Lejeune as a civilian.
My husband's name was Billy Marvin Hill. He worked at Camp Lejeune for 30-some years.
I started working on base in 1966. I was a healthy young person.
My youngest daughter was born 2 months before I was discharged from the Marine Corps.
They were saying cancer cells was forming in my body.
When I was 47, I was diagnosed with male breast cancer.
My son was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. My daughter, Tiffany, was diagnosed with cancer on her kidney.
I was diagnosed with cancer in my left kidney.
3 weeks later, he was diagnosed with leukemia.
My children, they both were just so very sick when they came into this world. Incubators, couldn't bring them home. I want to know why. Somebody can explain that to me today.
They knew this about the water. Why they didn't tell us?
I don't believe they should be hiding any information from this audience. None.
There is so much pain that has happened in this area that people don't understand. I blamed myself for years till this came out. I hated myself, I hated my body, because I thought I had failed my children. I had a son, Russell Alexander Thorpe, that was born November the 30th, 1977, with an open spine. There was no hope for him. This is my treasure box that I have of him. This is the suit he was wearing the day he died in my arms at 10 minutes past 12, New Year's Eve. This is vomit I have never been able to wash off. This is what I have left of my son. And then the doctors did not have any idea what was causing it. So they suggested we try again. We did. And I had a son born without a cranium. So I have 2 graves out in Onslow Memorial Park. I would appreciate it if y'all would take in consideration that we are not numbers in a study. We are human beings that have had great tragedies, and the pain never leaves. Rusty would be 30 years old on the 30th of this month. The pain is no less. Thank you.
I come up here to get away from the daily stress of talking to all these people on the telephone that were involved in Camp Lejeune. Every time somebody new finds out about this, they want to talk to me. And, you know, I can understand that, but, you know, I tell you what, it takes its toll, hearing all these different stories and tragedies. Now, Terry, did you want grits with your eggs? Toast, bread's right there, toaster's right there.
Is that water boiling, Jay? There's a bug in here.
Of course. Well, just about. Hey, buddy.
He's overly consumed with this. This is his life. This is what he does.
He and Janie were very, very close. And, you know, I can only imagine what it would be like to lose a child. And he just always seemed like, he didn't want to get close again because he just couldn't bear losing. So it's been tough. You know, you lose your sister and, you know, you kind of feel like you lost your dad too, so.
It ripped our family apart. I mean, yeah.
He was with her all the time. He lived at that hospital with her.
She was the type, she wanted to know everything that was going on around her, and she wouldn't take morphine. The day she died, she was really bad. She said, "Oh, Daddy," she said, I really hurt. And I said, "I know, honey." I said, "But you won't take morphine." She goes, "Maybe I better have some." Her nurse wiped the port off on her IV line and stuck the needle in and was getting ready to push it, and Janie looked at her, and Janie said, "Stop." And she looked back and she said, "I want some of that for my daddy." And she said, "Janie," she said, "we cannot give this to your daddy." She said, "This is a very, very, very strong pain medicine." Janie looked at her and said, "I know, my daddy's hurting too." So, and then to find out that these people knew about this. Never revealed it. Well, you understand my resolve in this, so.
Site of the Hadnot Point water treatment plant, built in 1941. In 1987, it served 37,134 residents. Camp Lejeune covers 159,000 acres, 559 miles of roadway, 42.8 miles of railroad, 6 water treatment facilities, and approximately 7,690 buildings, and it's the largest marine base on the East Coast. And so it's just a lot of cleaning solvents, mostly. I think it was just dumping over the years, maybe through drains. Anything and everything, yeah. Just as a point of interest that has nothing to do with water contamination, but this Burger King here on your left is the most profitable Burger King in the nation. This wooden stake on your right, that is the site of closed well TT26, closed in 1985.
I mean, the red flag in this situation at Camp Lejeune is this huge exposure. You know, lots of people exposed, some to incredibly high levels. And then there are rare diseases such as male breast cancer that set up a red flag, and that's certainly true at Camp Lejeune as well.
But what about the fact that the Marine Corps is saying that there's no conclusive links to any of these diseases in Camp Lejeune?
Well, and I hate to say it, but welcome to my world. In this instance, it's a government agency, so that's why it's an outrage.
Oh, I've had to beat the hell out of them, beat them into submission.
Well, the one thing I wanted to ask you, Dr. Clamp, you know, of all the contamination sites you've seen professionally over the years in your career, where would Camp Lejeune rank?
Unfortunately, Camp Lejeune is the biggest disaster of that type in this country that I'm aware of, but it's certainly not the only one. And there are military toxic sites all over this country, and in other countries too, U.S. bases in other countries. So we're still counting up the damage done, and I'm afraid we're not finished.
Okay, folks, let's get started.
The survey is one of the main ways we're going to find out about what happened to people, their health conditions and so on. So I think that this is going to be important for everyone who was exposed.
I just want to stress that the Marine Corps' top priority is to notify as many people as possible. So I would say they're publishing articles nationwide in about 6,000 outlets.
Is it possible to get a list of all of the entities that you're using and contacting? Radio stations, newspapers?
And penetration of actually what ran and when.
What you actually did.
I can get you what we put out.
When can we expect that?
I'm not the public affairs officer, so I don't have that information myself.
I'm not buying it.
I'm very irritated. I happen to be still alive, and I'd like to have some help.
Kelly, get on the TV and notify these people. I mean, I found out in June what happened to me before I was even born. This time last year, I was dying. That's wrong. The Marine Corps needs to get these people notified, and they need to get on the TV, they need to get on the news, and they need to tell them what happened.
I'll just say, as I started out, it's a top priority to notify people. And the Marine Corps is moving forward. I'm here today to get ideas from you on how to do a better job.
All right. Thank you for being able to take these messages back.
Break time.
It is break time. Please be back in 15 minutes from now. Thank you.
I know we're not going to get an apology. That's out of the question. But how about getting us the best possible medical care? Or taking care of our families? There's so many people who don't know, so many people who have already died, so many people who are going through what I'm going through right now and have no idea.
You all right?
Just feel really nauseous and hot. I'm okay.
I see some gray hair coming back out of there.
Go away. And it's hard, and if I died tomorrow, my family gets nothing. Nothing.
Danny, I'm going to be working. No fighting. Mom will be home about an hour.
How long are you going to be back there?
Well, we're not going fishing in the middle of the day.
No, I'm just asking how long are you going to be back there?
Maybe another hour, I don't know. Hey, this is Mike Partain from Camp Lejeune. When you give a chance, there's something that's come up. I want to ask for volunteers. I'm sorry to bother you on a Sunday. It's a foundation that is trying to do some awareness on the male breast cancer cluster. But they're wanting to put together a calendar. I'm calling everyone to see if who would be interested in doing that. If you're interested, what they're going to do is fly us up to 59 men. I had 4 call me about 2 weeks. A calendar, a pinup calendar. Try not to laugh too hard, but when they heard 59 men with breast cancer from Camp Lejeune, they were like, wow. And thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
We never get to spend any time like we used to, where we just sit together and we just have pizza and we play board games.
Do you think what I'm doing with Camp Lejeune is important?
Very important.
I'm not saying that what you're doing isn't important and that I don't back you. I do. It's just there are times that, when we
I know.
don't have a whole lot of time together, I wonder if you ever became sick again, would that be a regret?
No, it's hard. I mean, I don't enjoy staying up to 1, 2 in the morning and getting up on 5, 6 hours of sleep going to work, or losing all my vacation time at work. It'd be nice to go on a family vacation. The reason why I do this is because if we could stop people from being poisoned and children from being poisoned, and it can save someone's life or save someone from going through what I went through, then it's worth it.
I agree. Are you going fishing? Are you going fishing?
Yes.
The Marine Corps is, and always has been, a very large family. We understand that there are those who believe their health concerns may be a result of time spent at Camp Lejeune. The Marine Corps consists of warfighters and those who directly support warfighters. We have no public health experts, and accordingly, we rely on the expertise of the scientific organizations to inform our understanding of this issue. The studies completed to date have not determined whether or not there is an association.
Good morning, Tom Townsend. It's about 9:45. I was just talking to Benita. She's getting worse. They haven't given her any time frame. That's all I can say. I was just talking to her minutes ago, and the doctors came in, and she will fight as long as she will, but I think she's really broken at this time.
We walked in to a meeting with the EPA on their review of PERC, which is one of the chemicals we were exposed to, PCE. That was my first time doing something like that.
I'd like to welcome everyone.
I'm sitting there, and then I start hearing some of the people on the panel.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking on behalf of the Halogenated Solvents Industry Alliance. Thank you for the opportunity to share with the panel some of our concerns about US EPA's toxicological review of tetrachloroethylene.
I'm afraid I'm one of those special interests. The evidence linking exposure to tetrachloroethylene to cancers in humans is limited.
I'm with General Electric Corporate Environmental Programs. I have trouble understanding how that study is evidence of anything.
There was nobody else there from the public. It was just Jerry and me. And here they are making decisions that are going to affect my health and whether or not this chemical is going to be my drinking water. It takes every dime I have to save up money to go drive to Jerry's house and ride with Jerry to DC. These people come flying in on jets. They're wearing Armani suits. They have headquarters in DC. How can the public compete with that?
My intent for appearing here today is to ensure that science is allowed to do its work without human biases affecting the results. I can't say that for many of the other special interest groups whose motivations are driven by the almighty dollar and others who are attempting to shirk their liabilities. I listen to everybody here, and while we fully admit that this is a carcinogen to rats and other animals, yet we still just haven't tweaked that thing to where we could say it's a carcinogen to humans. The benefit of the doubt looks like it's going to go to the chemical and not to protect public health. What is wrong with this picture?
We have these groups of scientists who meet and they decide, is it a human carcinogen? Is it an animal carcinogen? Do we not know what to call it? And the decision is not just a scientific decision. It's a multi-billion-dollar decision with multinational implications. Because if you can delay in classifying something as a human carcinogen, you may be saving companies billions.
Camp Lejeune is just the tip of the iceberg.
Great. Here's Jerry.
Hey, Jerry. How do you do? How are you?
Okay.
Ma'am, how are you?
Welcome to San Antonio, brother.
Thank you.
All these plumes are coming this way.
How far do they go beyond here?
Oh, say like maybe 2-3 miles.
Really?
Yeah. This was one of our first casualties in our neighborhood. And then across the street, we have another one. We put another purple cross on this one here.
Mi esposa se murió de...
Oh, se murió de cáncer.
This is your wife?
Yeah, she passed away three years ago.
Sorry.
Yeah, a lot of people are dying.
Yeah.
The contamination moves under the houses, and it gets very hot here in San Antonio during the summer. So it's particularly bad. You can actually smell it. And the houses act like tents, so when it comes up and vaporizes to the surface, it's caught in the houses. And there are 20,000 of these homes located over the groundwater contamination plume.
They haven't done anything to help us out, the city or the Air Force, or then they'll stall you, finally says, you know what, the hell with it. I'm not gonna go out there and fight these people. You can't beat them, so you just give up.
Yeah, you can.
And come on, let's be realistic. They're not gonna listen to you.
I've been fighting this at Camp Lejeune for 12 years, and I'm not quitting.
Well, that's...
You know, when I told the Commandant of the Marine Corps, I said, you know when I'm gonna quit? Either when you do what's right by our people and live up to our motto, or when you pat me in the face with a shovel and blow taps over my dead ass, that's when I'm quitting.
Okay.
Mike, yes, still on. Hi, Bill. We're kind of pressed for time. You get your time, but let's keep it, you know.
I'll be honest with you, I'm nervous as hell.
We're only Marines.
What have I done? Good morning. I want to take a moment to thank you for your service and your sacrifice to this country and the Marine Corps. I am one of the estimated 12,548 children who were born at the base between 1968 and 1985. Our childhood leukemia rate is between 2 and 3 times the national average. Just a quick poll, who was at Camp Lejeune during this time period? We need your help. We would like to spread the word so that these families can be vigilant in their health. We also request that you contact your local congressmen and women and express your concern over what has happened and request that they support the current efforts concerning Lejeune.
There's a possibility that I was contaminated in the 50s.
Yeah.
If I go to the VA, what should I tell them to look for?
Have there been any heart defects?
There's a heart condition among the children that were born there.
Do you have a number we can contact?
Yeah, actually, if you all don't mind, put your name and number down. I've already got Congressman Boyd, he's on board, but I need you guys to talk about it, spread it. I just want to keep in touch with you guys. Thanks.
Hey, this is Jerry. I just received a phone call from Benita's son, and he told me that she passed away. Give me a call, and I'll talk to you then. Take care.
Before Janie died, she told me if I died, Daddy, every time you see a rainbow, it'll be me. I love you, honey. She's gone. I hate this damn finger pad.
Why'd you bring your mouse?
My mouse doesn't work without the fucking keyboard, remember?
No.
Now look here. All previous sampling in and around Site 22 indicates that petroleum-related products from tanks at this site are the only apparent source of contamination. Somebody's ass is in trouble over this. We found documents related to a fuel spill that they never reported to anybody. They never even tried to clean it up. We always realized that there was something that the Department of the Navy and the Marine Corps were hiding, but we had no idea the magnitude. And when we saw that, we said, oh my God, this is huge.
Documents recently reviewed by the press reveal the contamination was far more extensive and deadly than previously assumed.
Newly revealed documents last week inspired for an investigation.
Point to massive leaks of benzene, a known carcinogen, from a fuel storage farm at Camp Lejeune. They also suggest
we're trying to learn more, as are folks like Jerry Insminger, about the benzene and its impact. Benzene is a known carcinogen.
This ain't church, you guys. You guys can come up here to the front. The worst thing that we found out, we just discovered. They have estimated that 1.1 million gallons of fuel had been lost out of the Hadnot Point fuel farm. That was spills, leaks into the ground at the fuel farm.
Are there any incidents or things that you all were doing that, in the back of your mind, like, hey, there's something wrong with this?
Yeah. Well, all the times we used to flush hydrants. I opened that fire hydrant one day and it almost knocked me down. Nose started snotting, eyes started running. It was like rotten gasoline coming out of that thing, out of the hydrant. Sure was. It came out for a little bit and then it stopped and then the water started coming out.
Every time they had a major rain and everything, they had gasoline and vapors come up in those buildings, and the fire department, we responded to those buildings right regular.
When you went into the buildings, I mean, what
smell?
Smell what?
Smell the gasoline.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, was it like?
No doubt.
Did that get reported up anywhere, or you just?
I reported it to my captain, but where it went from there, I never knew no more about it.
You knew something was wrong, but then hey, if I say something, they're gonna bread away from my family.
Right. Let's get down to the root of it. It was like a little thing, okay, if you talk, you might not go nowhere.
You don't question it.
And you respect rank and you do what you're told, within that job restriction, because you have to or else. So you didn't pay too much attention to certain issues, you just did it. And after a while, it sort of clicked. This is what's happening.
Would any of you be interested in speaking to an Associated Press reporter?
Yeah. Yeah.
This thing about the fuel, this is going to explode.
Good evening. Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina, is the place where thousands of young Marines...
In other news, a stunning and very upsetting admission today from the federal government.
A form of cancer that might have come from the water they used every day. They told their story in Washington.
Scientists and federal investigators now believe Camp Lejeune may be the worst example of water contamination this country has ever seen.
They were told to dump it, get rid of it.
We weren't dumping toxic chemicals into the ground.
Really?
We've got to get to the bottom of this, and that means Congress is going to have to press the Marine Corps for answers.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Semper
And
Fi.
it's nice.
We got some lighting to
Semper
do,
Fi,
decorating.
you too. And I mean that.
Thank you. I mean it. All right, thank you.
Bring your elbow into you just a little bit. Yep, that's nice. A little more smile. That's good. Beautiful.
What kind of treatment did you have?
They took off my right breast. Was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2003, and then I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I was at Camp Lejeune. I had one son, but he died after he was born. He had holes in his heart.
The story broke about the Marines and the breast cancer. I got calls from around the country.
That's very rare for men to get breast cancer.
You're talking to somebody who's mad at the federal government, mad at the Marine Corps. That's why I'm here.
I received a call, and it was Mike Partain, and I was number 8. And now there's 65 of us.
That's great.
We'll go with that one.
Everybody knows what it looks like by now.
And I told everybody I'd do this as long as I didn't have to be in a Speedo and topless.
Oh, there we go.
Just want to thank everybody for coming. Right now, we've identified probably the single largest male breast cancer cluster that's ever been known. This project we're doing, the proceeds from the calendars are going to go for grant research to look into Camp Lejeune, not only for male breast cancer, but for the other diseases. So we have a unique opportunity to make a statement about what happened to all of us and everybody from Camp Lejeune. Jerry, did you want to say anything?
This is the guy that started it all. Come on, let's give him props. Come on, Jerry. Come on,
Jerry started this whole thing because without Jerry, we wouldn't know what happened to us.
I'm just glad that I was able to help you people in this room. So, Semper Fi.
All right, there we go. All right.
Suck it in.
Suck it in. Relax a little bit. That's good. Don't look stiff. Where are you guys? All right, right over here looking at me.
Nice smile.
That's good. Looking at me. Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you.
When I first saw you on TV, I said, I'm gonna file a claim. I said, I don't care how long it takes me, I'm gonna file it until I can't fight no more.
The tumor was in your hard palate?
Soft palate.
Soft palate.
On the right.
On the right side.
I don't know how the judge came to a conclusion. Now here's the conclusion on the wall right here.
They state in your decision to grant you VA benefits that your cancer was because of your exposure to the contaminated drinking water while you both worked and lived aboard Camp Lejeune, right?
That's right. Yep, that was right.
All right.
That's right.
I would like today to get copies of your documents.
Sure.
David Briscoe is the only person that I currently know of who had a federal agency admit in writing that his disease was caused by the contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. That's going to be like a damn bomb hitting in the Senate, I'm going to tell you right now. Today's a big day. The House of Representatives is introducing a bill. I was in my study, sitting behind in front of my computer when they called me. I mean, I could not hardly talk about it without my voice breaking, you know, the first few times that I told people about it. It was quite an honor.
Good morning and welcome. I'm very proud to be here to introduce the Janie Ensminger Act. This bill is the next step in providing justice to those who were affected by the toxic drinking water at Camp Lejeune.
The Janie Ensminger Act requires the Department of Veterans Affairs to provide health care to the veterans and their families who served at Camp Lejeune during the period of water contamination.
This will make it easier for Marines and their families to receive disability compensation for their illness.
It was suggested last week that the VA isn't equipped to do this until you realize that we already do it. It's called the Family Members of Agent Orange. We handle those individuals. We do it through the VA today, and we can do it as it relates to those family members of Camp Lejeune.
Jerry, to you and your family, thank you for the years of perseverance that you have shown in getting us to where we are today.
I am now pleased to introduce Jerry Ensminger. Jerry's been more relentless, more powerful than any paid lobbyist could ever be. He is a powerful advocate, and it is a righteous power.
Good afternoon. I am the father of Jane Yoshi Ensminger, the 9-year-old little girl for whom this bill is named. I can only surmise that had this conduct been demonstrated by a private industry and not a Department of Defense entity, they would have most certainly found themselves in a federal courtroom long ago. It is my hope that someday, soon, all of us will finally be allowed to achieve some much needed closure and justice. May God bless Janie, and may God bless you for bestowing this honor upon her. Thank you.
I carried the torch for this organization. And I instilled in those kids our motto, Semper Fi Always, which means always faithful. It meant something to me that we take care of our own, and it meant something to those kids that I trained. I want this situation here to live in history and in science so that it never happens to anybody else again.